Salutations everyone, this is Razor bringing you guys another Overwatch video where today we're going to be talking about the Role Q 222 role lock and what that will mean for the meta. Now, in short, this doesn't change the meta at all. 222 was always the best thing to run at the bottom 98% of us level, you know, bronze to diamond, which is where almost all the players are. You know, we never ran dives. You could pick dive characters, but we never ran dive. No one's gonna play two tanks, let alone triple tank during the triple tank meta, which means no one's ever gonna play goats because everyone wants to play McCree and Genji, right? So, you know, there was never a time where the meta of, like, say, the Overwatch League was the same as the competitive meta until they instituted the 222 role lock in Overwatch League. And after Blizzard essentially gave up on balancing the game so that GOATS wasn't meta, which you really couldn't do unless you reworked from the ground up a bunch of characters. They just decided to institute a role lock and just make GOATS not even playable. But before that, they tried their best, right? Like, take a look at Reaper, right? They were like, all right, Reaper, he's good at taking down tanks, so let's buff him. Oh, that wasn't good enough. Let's buff him again. Well, that wasn't good enough. Let's buff him again. And when that wasn't good enough, they buffed him again. And then they tried to buff Bunker, right? So they buffed Bastion, and they buffed Bastion again. They buffed Orisa. They nerfed Lucio, right? And you know, they thought, you know, okay, this'll do it. This'll do it. This'll do it. Oh, this'll make GOATS worse. And then, you know, some things made GOATS better. And you know, I'm gonna throw the immortality field on Bob so he can get that final kill. So what the two games that I'm going to be showing you here are games where there is not 222 being run. Now, my team is not running 222 here in this example. We have 3 DPS. So I took it upon myself to make this bunker work, right? We had a Bastion and Orisa, so I picked Baptiste, right? We have a Mercy. This can definitely work on defense. The power of bunker, right? Baptiste is really good at scaring away flankers, as you saw me triple headshot the Tracer there, and now I'm wary of her. I make myself the pulse bomb target, and she can't get me, right? Even if she sticks it on the Bastion, and I'm not able to get Mortality Field out soon enough, me and Orisa, we're gonna kill or scare away the Tracer, and Mercy's able to get the res, right? So while we're doing all the important shit right here, our Ashe is on the high ground, completely uncontested, building ult insanely fast. I don't even know what the Reaper's doing, but as you can see, he's just in the back, just hiding and sneaking and pouncing. He doesn't get a ton of value, but he really wasn't integral to the team. We could have won this in a 5v6 because we were making the rest of the composition work, right? Even though we had triple DPS, we made it work. And the enemy team was running 222. And then we started just kicking their ass. The Bastion wasn't dying. And then the D.Va switched to damage. And then the Baptiste switched to damage. And now we got the Orisa switched to damage. And now we have a guaranteed win because the enemy has 5 damage dealers. And there's not a chance in hell that you're ever going to see a team win with 5 damage dealers, especially against a bunker comp with, you know, a Mercy that can res, and the other healer, me, never dying in the entire game and out-positioning these flanking attempts from the Tracer and the Junkrat. And from there on, it's just easy clap, right? So that's not something that's going to be happening anymore. You have such an advantage online for defending first, because if you hold them, you know, to where they're not even close to the point B, or if you like full hold them on point A as we do here, the enemy team gets so tilted that they don't even try when they're on defense, right? Like, they could theoretically do to us what we just did to them, whether they mirror our comp that we did on defense, or if they try, you know, something completely new to what they had on their attack and force, you know, another round or an overtime, or, you know, get us to time bank, you know, whatever the condition is for winning or prolonging that map. That's no longer going to be a thing that your team can do. You can't have your Mei, your Mercy, who's tired of getting picked off and not being peeled for, switching to Torbjorn. You don't have to worry about that because she literally can't. You don't have to worry about your off tank being like, oh gosh, we just keep getting rolled, I'm gonna go to Widow and fucking throw. You can't do that anymore. The meta is there, the game is gonna be so much meta due to, if nothing else, less people can be on DPS, therefore less people can throw. Now you're always going to have people who get tilted, you're always going to have people throw, and there are going to be tank comps and healer comps that just aren't very good, that just doesn't have enough healing, or there's not a shield, or you're going to have good responses to what the enemy team is running, right? You're always going to have people trash talking and Moira saying, hey, why did I get gold damage? Hey, DPS, you suck. Or things to that effect, the gold damage brohemes out there, and you're still gonna have that, but at the same time you're gonna have less of a chance for those things to happen, because everyone's like, you picked your role, right? Genji main 6969, who is like, oh, I guess I'll be Roadhog, right? Because he really wants to play DPS and not actually play a tank, so he'll pick Roadhog. I don't even know why I picked Roadhog here, but as you can see, this team comp doesn't make sense. We have D.Va Roadhog, and we should be losing. This is a control map, right? We need a shield, but the enemy team is running like they're running quad DPS Mercy Winston, and we're just destroying them. They don't. They have the Zarya, and they end up, the DPS keeps switching, so they're not getting ults, and they have nothing to stop me from hooking and one-shotting everything, including Bastions, right? So we can just run over them because they just have a Zarya, or they just have a Winston, or they just have a Mercy. So the crappy comps will work when the enemy team runs something even crappier, but when the roll lock happens, that's not nearly going to be as prevalent, right? The chances for people to throw are going to be far less. It's still going to be applicable. You're still going to have people thinking that Genji and McCree and Torbjorn are the only DPS characters in the world and end up throwing, because those are shitty characters in most cases, where you can just use Mei or Reaper and Bastion and get automatic wins because they require teamwork to kill, right? Or Mei, right? The Overwatch League meta right now is Reaper and Mei. They are the most used DPS in Overwatch League, because they're the best right now. They kept getting buffed and kept getting buffed, and now that Goats isn't here to stop them, they can just run amok. They're kind of like a Goats Junior, right? They're 250 health pool DPS, which are more than any other damage dealers, and they both have self-heal and have indestructible abilities to where they're invulnerable. So Mei has always been insane, right? But after like season 2, people stopped complaining about her because, I don't know, they found other things to complain about. But Ice Wall is the best ability in the entire game, and now that Overwatch League isn't able to do Goats, or we don't have limited roster with dive meta or triple tank anymore, they're forced to be in the same meta as us for the first time. Reaper has always been super meta in the bottom 98% because he requires coordination and teamwork to kill, but now that he's been buffed through the freaking roof, he's unstoppable in Overwatch League. You had all these commentators and YouTubers out there like, yeah, Brigitte doesn't need to be buffed. It's okay if she's only good in bronze and silver, because not every character needs to be better. Like Reaper. Reaper will never be good at the top levels of play, but he's always going to dominate at low levels. Fucking wrong. He is destroying Overwatch League right now. Death Blossoms are getting triple and quads all the time. Mays are absolutely running havoc, a character that so many people never thought would be meta for years and years, and she has just been annihilating. She had a couple of rounds on like Libero, or a couple of small people in the first season, or during the Goats phase you started seeing her a little more, and yes, Clockwork was fine in contenders, but the Overwatch League is a different beast in that they will always play what's best, and now that they're forced to be in the same meta as us, it's much easier for people to see just how strong these characters are, right? We haven't seen a lot of Bastion, right, in the role lock meta thus far. Bunker isn't the end-all be-all like so many people thought when the 2-2 role queue was coming out, because Reaper and Mei can just kind of substitute for that triple tank lineup, and you can just put in Moira there, which didn't see much play in the Goats meta. Now that she can just heal 4 targets that are not going to be able to die nearly as much, she can make up for that lack of healing of having a third healer in the GOATS meta, right? So what this 2-2-2 Rollock is going to do for the rest of us that aren't in Overwatch League, I mean, the meta isn't going to change. Roadhog, Orisa have been the best tanks for a while now, and Halt Hook is like legitimately stupid unstoppable, but nobody wants to do it because that requires voice chat and coordination, right? Reaper and Bastion and Mei were already the best. Making it a Rollock isn't going to change that. 2-2-2 was always the best for competitive matchmaking below Masters, where people can't run GOATS or dive or triple tank or a really highfalutin triple DPS, right? So that doesn't change for us, but the roles and what they're allowed to do does change. So what this is going to enable is really going to help the tanks the most. Tanks will benefit from this more than any other role because nobody wants to play tank, right? Tank is by far the least played role, and they're the most important. They dictate the space, they have powerful ultimates, they are the main reason that your healers are going to be able to gain ult because they keep healing the tank. If you keep the tanks alive, they gain space. That enables your DPS to do shit. But people don't want to do that, right? They want to play McCree and Torbjorn and Genji until the cows come home. But now that they no longer do that, tanks will always have a partner tank to play with, right? That's always going to be the case. If you play tank, you will always have another tank on your team. So you're not going to pull all of the aggro. As soon as the enemy team kills you on Orisa, the game isn't over because your D.Va is going to be there to protect you, or that your Zarya or your Hammond, right, is going to be able to kill off their backline, and then you can even things up. Or the Sigma is going to be able to start farming his ult and put that shield out there to help a Reinhardt whose shield was shattered. Even if it's not the greatest tank duo, you're always going to have another tank, and that's going to allow all the tanks to live longer. It's going to allow your healers to get ults more often because they're always going to have more of an HP pool to heal up, right? So tanks are going to benefit from that the most because they'll always have a partner in Crime Tank, and they'll always have two healers, ideally healing them and keeping them in the fight. And what this does is it enables the other role that will benefit from the most to do what they need to do, and that's the DPS role. The DPS, when they always have two tanks and two healers to heal those tanks, they get the space that they need to flourish. If you've never seen a good Widowmaker, you might finally start to see good Widowmakers because the tanks will always have another tank and two healers to heal them to create space, which is what they're supposed to do, so that a Widow can not be pressured and get her shots off, or a McCree can finally start getting value in online for the first time ever, or your Tracer when she get those picks, or your Genji when they get those picks, they'll be worth something because the rest of your team doesn't instantly die to a blizzard, right? You'll have a shield, or you'll have an ability to eat it with Sigma or D.Va's defense matrix or something like that. So DPS will very much benefit from those from the 2-2-2 Rollock. It doesn't really change how healers play because healers have always been able to kind of fulfill the needs of the team. They're very flexible in what they're able to do. The Sleep Dart can shut down a DPS that's going off, or boop away a tank that's just getting way too aggro and just crushing your tanks, or healing up your tanks so that they don't lose the tank battle, right? So healers don't have to worry about changing their playstyles, and it doesn't really affect how they can succeed or not. They'll be able to get a little bit more ultimates, even though the global ult change goes down, so that's going to hurt some characters more than others. There's some characters I don't know how this is going to affect, such as the Brigitte changes. We don't know how that's going to work. Zenyatta and Lucio with their nerfs to hurt GOATs, those might be reverted. Tracer got her nerf reverted to her pulse bomb, so they seem to be open to that idea. Roadhog won't have as many guaranteed squishy targets to absolutely wipe out, but he'll always have now another tank buddy to share the wealth with, and now we'll always have two healers to heal him, right? So there's some things that are a little bit up in the air, and Genji and Doomfist won't just be able to completely carry as many games because now there'll always be two tanks to to be there. Genji's always struggled against tanks. That's why he was garbage in triple tank and in goats, because he just can't kill tanks. He doesn't have that kind of damage. He's good at killing squishies. And in competitive, there was always tons of squishies, right? Because everyone was playing DPS. Well, now Genji doesn't have as many squishy targets, or Doomfist doesn't have as many squishy targets to go after. He can still harass the tanks, but now those tanks will always have a bro tank or 2 healers to keep them up. So Doomfist and Genjis, I don't think will be able to carry as much. But now when you get your picks, your tanks will be able to gain that space, and your healers will have less pressure on them, ideally. And this is overall just going to translate into better team fights, more forced synergy just by random chance, if for nothing else. Just due to the fact that you'll always have 2 tanks, you'll always have 2 healers, which is always ideal, and you'll only have 2 people throwing on DPS at the most. And isn't that what we all wanted for Role Lock?